He lives by a set of rules no one taught him. Rules he never speaks about, never announces, and never uses to impress anyone. They are woven into the way he makes decisions, the way he walks away, the way he holds himself even when no one is watching. This is the part people misunderstand about Sigma males. Their strength isn't in rebellion or indifference, but in a private moral code that guides every move they make in silence. A code that shapes who they trust, what they tolerate, and how they rise without stepping on anyone to get there. Most people only see the surface, the calm expression, the steady presence, the quiet confidence. They don't see the rules underneath the stillness, the principles that keep him grounded when life gets loud, chaotic, or manipulative. But once you understand these rules, you realize why Sigmas can walk through situations that break other people. You understand why they are so hard to influence, control, or deceive. And you start to see why they become rare, respected, and unforgettable. Before we go deeper, tell me in the comments, which personal rule do you live by, even when no one knows about it? And if you're new here, subscribe to UltraWise so you never miss the next breakthrough. He tells the truth even when silence would benefit him. Honesty is his internal compass. A Sigma male carries truth the way others carry weapons, not to harm, but to cut through the fog that blinds most people. When others choose silence because it's easier, safer, or more strategic, he chooses honesty because it is the only thing that keeps him aligned with himself. He has learned through experience that silence can protect him temporarily, but truth protects him permanently. So even when speaking up might cost him approval, comfort, or opportunity, he does it anyway. Not loudly, not theatrically, but with a calm precision that leaves no room for misinterpretation. In his world, truth is not a performance, it's maintenance of inner order. He learned early that lies create invisible chains. Each one binds you a little more to the expectations of others, to the image you're trying to uphold, to the version of yourself people want you to be. Break enough of those chains, and suddenly you realize the only person you betrayed was yourself. A Sigma refuses to live in that trap. So when a moment presents itself, the crossroads where most people choose comfort, he steps into honesty, even if it exposes him, even if it makes others uncomfortable, even if it shifts the relationship forever. For him, truth is not about being right. It's about staying whole. And there is a deeper psychology behind this. Honesty gives him clarity. It frees him from the mental exhaustion of maintaining facades. It protects his peace by ensuring he never has to remember what story he told or who he pretended to be. It builds a life where everything around him, every relationship, every path is grounded in authenticity rather than illusion. People may misunderstand him. Some may even pull away. But he accepts that as the price of living aligned with his core. Because at the end of the day, he knows one thing. Silence can keep the world comfortable, but truth keeps his soul clean. He helps without announcing it, choosing integrity over recognition. A Sigma male's generosity is quiet, almost invisible, because he gives from a place that has nothing to prove. While others use kindness as currency, something to show, to document, to leverage, he treats it as something sacred. He helps because it aligns with who he is, not because it earns him applause. You won't see him posting his good deeds, rehearsing them for validation, or reminding people of what he did. Most of the time, the person he helps never knows he was the one who intervened. That anonymity is intentional. The purity of the act matters more to him than the praise. He operates with a private code. If you need recognition for doing good, then you weren't doing good, you were performing. So he moves differently. When someone is struggling, he steps in with subtlety. He opens doors quietly, clears obstacles without credit, gives advice without seeking dependence,
supports people without demanding gratitude. If he spots a weakness or a crisis unfolding, he stabilizes the situation long before anyone realizes it could have fallen apart. And when the problem is resolved, he slips back into the background as if nothing happened. His fingerprints are on the solution, but his name never is. This approach shapes how people perceive him. They often underestimate him because he doesn't broadcast his contributions. They don't realize how many of the things that worked out did so because he quietly redirected the outcome. But that doesn't bother him. In fact, he prefers it. Recognition complicates things. It invites expectations, obligation, ego, and emotional debt, the very things he avoids. Quiet service keeps him clean, keeps him sovereign, and keeps his motives pure.
And beneath it all, there is a deeper truth. Helping silently gives him power over his own narrative. He doesn't need the world to see him as good to know he is good. He doesn't need applause to stay aligned with his values. He knows who he is when no one is watching, and that integrity is its own reward. He never violates his boundaries, even if breaking them would make life easier.
A Sigma male's boundaries are not negotiable. They are the architecture of his life. While others bend their limits to avoid conflict, earn approval, or keep the peace, he refuses to sacrifice his internal stability for external convenience. This commitment is not stubbornness, it is self-preservation. He knows that every time a man breaks his own boundary, he teaches the world to do the same. So when pressure rises, when someone asks for it just this once, or when bending the rule would smooth things over, he stays firm. Not with anger. Not with ego. With clarity. His boundaries were built from experience, from moments where giving too much drained him, where saying yes led to resentment, where silence allowed disrespect to grow. Now, when a situation tries to push him beyond what feels right, he doesn't negotiate with himself. He doesn't rationalize. He doesn't make excuses. He simply steps back, holds the line, and lets the consequences unfold. And the remarkable part is this: the consequences rarely bother him. He knows losing comfort is better than losing self-respect, and he refuses to pay that price ever again. People often misunderstand this restraint. They think he is rigid, cold, or unyielding. But in reality, he is protecting something fragile and powerful: his peace. Once a Sigma male learns how much of his life improves when he refuses to abandon his standards, he never goes back. Boundaries become the filter that removes manipulation, entitlement, chaos, and emotional debt from his world. They shield his mental clarity, guard his time, and maintain the structure of who he is. Even when saying yes would win him approval, make someone like him more, or remove friction from his day, he chooses the harder path, the honest one. His boundaries are not walls. They are doors only he decides to open. And because he never breaks them for convenience, the world eventually learns that pushing him is useless. His life becomes simpler, cleaner, and aligned, not because others change, but because he refuses to. He treats people with respect, not because they deserve it, but because it reflects who he is. A Sigma male's respect is not a reaction. It is a standard he sets for himself. While most people adjust their behavior based on how they are treated, he refuses to let the world dictate his character. His respect does not rise and fall with someone else's mood, status, or attitude. It is anchored in his own integrity. Even when he encounters arrogance, immaturity, or disrespect, he does not mirror it. Not because he is weak, but because he refuses to let someone else's behavior pull him down to their level. His respect is a mirror of his inner discipline, not a reward others earn. And yet, this respect is not naive. He does not give access simply because he treats someone well. He does not mistake courtesy for connection or politeness for trust. His respect is clean, contained, and intentional. It keeps interactions smooth, but never opens doors to manipulation. He can look someone in the eye,
speak calmly, and hold his dignity even as he recognizes that person has no place in his life. This is what makes him dangerous in the best way. He can remain respectful while quietly withdrawing, observing, or cutting ties without drama. People often misinterpret this calmness. They think his good manners mean he likes them, agrees with them, or wants something from them. They mistake his respectful tone for submission, not realizing that it is actually control over himself, over the moment, over the energy exchanged. A Sigma male knows that losing composure means losing power, so he refuses to let disrespect provoke him. His restraint unsettles those who rely on conflict to feel strong. It exposes who is ruled by impulse and who is ruled by intention. But the deeper truth is this: his respect is not about them. It is about the man he has chosen to be. He refuses to let bitterness, ego, or anger distort his character. Treating others with respect is his quiet way of honoring himself. And ironically, this unwavering internal code is what makes people remember him long after he's gone from their lives, not because he demanded respect, but because he embodied it. He refuses to manipulate or deceive, even when others do it freely. A Sigma male understands how easy it would be to manipulate people. After all, he reads human behavior with unsettling accuracy. He notices insecurities, blind spots, and emotional leaks long before others realize they're exposing them. But instead of exploiting these vulnerabilities, he chooses restraint. Not because he lacks the intelligence or opportunity to deceive, but because integrity is the one currency he will never trade. While others twist truth to gain advantage or use charm to control outcomes, he keeps his hands clean. He knows manipulation always comes with a hidden cost: the erosion of self-respect. This refusal to deceive gives him a different kind of power. People sense something unpredictable about him, not the unstable kind, but the disciplined kind. He doesn't say things he doesn't mean. He doesn't promise what he will not deliver. He doesn't pretend to feel things he doesn't feel. His honesty becomes a mirror that exposes the motives around him. Manipulators hate him because he cannot be pulled into their games. Opportunists avoid him because he sees through their motives immediately. And genuine people trust him instinctively because his intentions never shift with convenience. Even in conflict, he chooses truth over tactics. He doesn't twist stories to win. He doesn't hide mistakes. He doesn't distort reality to look stronger or smarter. His power lies in the fact that he can stand firmly in honesty without fear. Deception makes people dependent on maintaining illusions. He wants no part of that burden. His life stays clean because his conscience stays clean. But here is the deeper reason he avoids manipulation. It is inefficient. Lies require maintenance, and strategies built on deceit eventually collapse. He prefers the quiet confidence of knowing his actions can be defended in the light. He wants relationships built on truth, not performance. And ultimately, this commitment to clarity makes him rare. A man who could manipulate anyone, yet chooses to manipulate no one. That is what makes him trustworthy, respected, and nearly impossible to replace. He honors commitments deeply, but only when they align with his values. A Sigma male does not make promises lightly. When he commits, it is never out of pressure, social obligation, or fear of disappointing someone. He commits only when something aligns with his internal standards, a code he never compromises. And once he does, he shows up with a focus and loyalty that few people are prepared for. His dedication is quiet but unwavering, the kind of commitment that doesn't need reminders or applause. He pours his effort into the things he believes in, not because someone is watching, but because breaking his own word would fracture something inside him. To him, integrity is not a performance, It is a way of breathing. But this depth of commitment also makes him ruthless about what he will not give himself to. If he senses that a promise requires him to betray his principles, he will walk away before he ever agrees. If he feels that keeping it would cost him his peace, autonomy, or identity, he steps back without hesitation. People often misinterpret this as coldness, but it is actually respect for himself, for the truth, and for the weight of a commitment. He refuses to stay loyal to something that does not align with who he is, because loyalty without alignment is self-destruction in slow motion. Once involved, he gives more than most, but once misaligned, he withdraws sooner than expected. That ability to detach is what protects the purity of his integrity. He will not force himself into responsibilities that drain him. He will not stay tied to promises made under pressure. And he will never endure environments that demand he shrink or bend to fit. His commitments are sacred precisely because he limits them to what is real, meaningful, and true. People eventually learn something important about him. When he's all in, he is rock solid. But when his values are violated, he becomes unreachable. That's the paradox of his morality. His loyalty is rare, powerful, and unwavering, but only when the commitment deserves the weight of his character. He walks away from anything that requires him to betray himself, no matter the cost. A Sigma male learns early that every compromise carries a hidden price, and the most expensive one is betraying himself. So when life places him at a crossroads, loyalty to others or loyalty to his own soul, he chooses himself with a calm, unwavering certainty. Not because he is selfish, but because he understands a brutal truth. The moment he abandons his own principles, he becomes a version of himself he can no longer respect. And for him, self-respect is oxygen. He refuses to suffocate for anyone. When he senses that a relationship, a job, or a commitment demands that he silence his intuition or shrink his identity, something inside him goes quiet, but firm. He begins distancing emotionally long before he physically leaves. He observes the pressure around him, the expectations, the manipulations disguised as affection or opportunity, and with every observation, he feels the truth sharpening. He knows staying will cost him pieces of himself he will never recover. And once he sees that, his decision is already made. People often mistake his exit for coldness or detachment, but they never see the internal war he fought before choosing to walk away. He leaves not because he doesn't care, but because he cares too much about remaining whole. Betraying himself is a line he will never cross. Not for love, not for money, not for acceptance, not for comfort. He would rather rebuild his life from zero than stay in a place that asks him to abandon who he is. And once he walks away, there is no returning. The door closes silently, permanently. His absence becomes the consequence of someone else's attempt to overwrite his identity. And his departure, quiet, controlled, final, becomes the purest expression of his moral code. Nothing is worth losing himself over. When a man like this finally chooses himself, the world around him shifts, not because he announced it, but because his absence reveals what his presence was holding together. The people who underestimated him feel the weight of losing access. The environments that drained him collapse without his quiet strength holding the structure, and he walks forward, lighter, sharper, truer, carrying no resentment, only clarity. His evolution becomes his closure. If this resonated with you, stay with me. There is far more beneath the surface of the Sigma mindset than most people ever see. And if you want to understand yourself on a deeper level, or understand the men who think and operate this way, make sure you don't miss the next chapters. Would you personally choose yourself in a moment when everything around you demanded otherwise? Tell me in the comments. Your words matter here. Subscribe to Ultra Wise so you don't miss the videos that reveal the psychology others never talk about.